Hey, what is up, everybody? Michael Crump back here again, talking about the latest and the greatest in PlayStation homebrew news and much, much more. So, the very first topic that I wanted to talk about was that CTURT released part 2 of the Master Core hacking the PS4, 5 through the PS2 emulator series. And so, really, in part 2, there was a lot of talk around, obviously, the compiler process and how he used to attack it. Now, if you scrolled down into this article, you would find a couple of different things. The first one was saying that, hey, he was unfinished, that he never finished the exploit, and he was sorry for doing that. And then if you scroll down some more, this exploit would allow arbitrary code execution on the latest firmwares of the PS4 and 5, allowing native homebrew applications to be run off the USB storage, for example. And really, what we're looking for here is to be able to run things like the PlayStation 4 homebrew applications that we know and love on a PlayStation 5. Obviously, it would be really great to be able to get PS4 fake packages running on a PlayStation 5, but we don't know what's going to happen. Now, I talked about this in a lot more detail, some of the different terms that was used in that article, such as like ROP or return-oriented programming. Okay, so next up is going to be from Slayers Gorvy, and by taking a look at his repository tab here, we can see that there is a number of different repos that have been updated in the past week. And there's one or two things that's in here that might be interesting to note. This project called Bad Hoist, and then there was a Toy C compiler, but then more importantly was this one called PS4 JB Downloads. And so we can see that this was last updated 5 days ago. So if we go into that one and we switch from master over here to BD-JB, we can see right here is the last couple of commits that Slayers has been working on. So PS5K stuff, a syscall hook, POC. So this is interesting. So POC would typically be a proof of concept. And again, we can see this was on April the 2nd of 2023. And then there's just another one here, which obviously I can't determine what that is, but that was also committed right here at 5 days ago. We definitely know that there is some work that is being done. This is obviously in the BD-JP branch, so that's obviously the Blu-ray disc jailbreak that we used at least initially for the PlayStation 5. We may have more cool stuff coming from them in the future. And next up, this one is all about Microsoft, and what they have recently done is that they have started popping up this message right here, unable to launch this game or app if you are trying to run an emulator in the Xbox retail mode. So I have a couple of videos on my channel where I showed folks how to do this with Xenia. So if you're interested, definitely go check those out. But basically there is two modes that you can put a Xbox in, a retail mode, which is for the everyday average consumer. And then there's a dev mode. In the dev mode, you can pretty much run, for the most part, everything. Now, you can't run pirated applications or anything, but emulators are allowed there. But in the retail mode, they used to allow emulation, but now they are no longer doing that. So previously, we would go to a URL on our Xbox, and then it would redirect to the Microsoft Store, and then there was a hidden application such as Xenia. And so you would download Xenia, and you could do things like run different types of emulators like the PlayStation 2, but then also a lot of folks were doing it with Nintendo. I believe Nintendo got really, really mad at them, and Xbox, before things get out of control, decided to go ahead and just eliminate that. So for now, if you were using one of these emulators, you will no longer be able to do so. Now, again, you can pay for the developer mode and then turn that on, and then you would be able to run it again, but it's just going to be a little bit of an extra cost for you, and you would have to pay that yearly. Sound off in the comments. What do you think? Next up, I wanted to mention God of War Ragnarok. Now, in case you didn't know, God of War Ragnarok was released really, I guess, a couple of months ago, but there was a substantial patch that just came out, which was patch 4.0. And basically, I wanted to let you know that that is obviously available to those of us in the homebrew scene that's running 9.00 and below. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about what all came with this patch and why this is going to be so big for God of War fans, is that you can go over to this site right here, and we can see that there is these new level caps. There's tons of different new equipment in here, armor appearances, there's enchantments, there is the Berserker soul drops. Really, there is just so many different things in here, and this is just the list of features and then all of the different bug fixes. So anyway, this was a major release by the studio to update that to 4.0. So I would highly recommend those of us with jailbroken consoles. Obviously, we can enjoy that at still using our 9.00 systems. And then next up, I wanted to sprinkle some kind of general news in here, and that was this tweet right here, which says that the PlayStation files a patent for controllers that turn hot and cold. So I thought this was so very cool, because imagine you have a controller and maybe you're playing a winter level in God of War, and the controller would kind of turn cold during that time. Or maybe you're in a dungeon somewhere with fiery pits and you could turn the controller very hot. I just think that would be an amazing thing to have. I mean, but heck, I mean, I've been around since before we didn't even have vibrations in controllers. But yeah, I think this was super cool, and I wanted just to drop this one in here. And next up, we have another great release by the one, the only Lappy. And this is Icon Mask, and actually it is now at version 1.10, but he did release a couple of new masks, and there is some improved code. You can obviously go grab this at PKG-Zone or use the Homebrew Store application. But if we look at these images right here, we can see this is so cool. So it's got PS4, and then it's kind of got the like cartridge connector type. This one has a nice little design, and this is like the PlayStation 4 box itself. And then, yeah, just another design right there. So definitely go and check this out and start using it. It is another amazing, amazing tool that Lappy has given to us, and I am very appreciative to him. Next up, we have another PS4 permanent theme, and this one is called the Gold theme. Now, keep in mind that this person has a number of different themes that's available on their channel. I've just been an absolute fan of some of the work. There was this one right here, which was a Resident Evil 4 one, which most of you know I love this game. But anyway, there's a variety of different options that he has in here, as well as a very cool ESP32S2 host that I also have another video for if you wanted to check that out. And then I did want to mention that there is a new version of PSPSH. So if we go over here to the releases, we can see that there is a version 0.1.1. And before we take a look at that, I wanted just to quickly remind you that this was a primitive shell server for the PS4 and the 5 that uses the Master Core exploit that's already in the PS2 emulator. And now I do already have a video that shows you how you can start getting up and running with using PSPSH. It's right around 9 minutes, but I'll walk you through really every step of the ways. We talk about the different servers. We actually run the Master Core exploit, and now we start navigating through the system. Eventually, we'll do things like pop notifications, and then we'll download files directly from the PlayStation 4, and in this version, it was version 10.50. So if we just switch back over here again, we can see that here was the number of commands that he currently has supported. And again, I'll walk through, I believe, the majority of these inside of that video. So we will now go ahead and go back to the releases, and we can see right here that now it says that the downloader now supports the transmission of the file names and the file extensions. Before, it would just automatically give you one, and it says there also is a new command, which is the make directory command, and then the rm command now will actually support deleting directories instead of just single files. Okay, and I've got one more news item that I wanted to talk about today, and that is this rumored PlayStation Q Lite. So go ahead and check out this article, which I will link to in the description below. But with looking at the rumors for what this is, basically this is a new kind of handheld. And now some folks were thinking originally that this is like the Vita 2, and we learned for the most part it absolutely is not. So if we scroll down into this article here, the rumored PlayStation Portable will require a PlayStation 5. So this is something that is 100% reliant on having a PlayStation 5. And then they also use this remote play, which is something that you can go ahead and you can use right now. And what this lets you do is that it lets you access your living room console from any computer, so like a Vita or a PS4, with the appropriate app. So it appears that the Q Lite device would be a dedicated remote play screen and controller. This would, of course, require constant internet access, although the reports are not saying if the device will have a 4G, 5G chip or be Wi-Fi only. Now, this report does come from a very reliable source, and I think that maybe they are doing this or maybe they're not, but if they are requiring a device that is reliant on the PlayStation 5, it only needs internet, I don't think most of the fans are going to be that interested in it. Now, if it were a standalone device, such as what we've got with the PSP or obviously the PS Vita, and we could store information on the device, basically we could use it without having an internet connection, then I believe that would obviously be a super big hit for fans. But let me know in the comments. Well, anyway, thank you so very much for listening to me today, and I'll see you on the next one. Michael, out.